I've got many worried complaints that I cut my hair. I did not cut my hair, so you can just relax. I asked you on the community page, I said, what show do you want us to do after Sister Wives? And you gave me a lot of great information, and we did none of it. So, because I had said, whatever we do, we can't pick a show on Sunday night because we already have too many shows, and we spent all Monday watching TV and trying to recap. And then we also picked a show on Sunday. But we picked a show because for the first time in a long time, John was like, yeah, I like it. We tried a new show, we liked it.
It doesn't suck and it's not full of nonsense.
So anyway, so we're going to recap a show for John. Which is Rob Riggle's Global Investigator. This is Season 1, Episode 1, The Atlantis Case. It is marked on my DVR as Season 1, Episode 6. So I did a deep dive because I'm like, how did we miss 5 episodes? I know it was premiering in March. It's an error. I don't know whether it was going to be Episode 6 and they changed it or what. How did you describe it?
It's what Top Gear is to car guys, what, I don't know, adventure shows are to... Like, it's fun. It's a little on the nose. It's a little hammy, but it's interesting, and I really enjoyed it. I
actually laughed several times. I'm not a big I don't normally watch stuff and laugh out loud, and I did. It caught me off guard a couple times. If you're not familiar with Rob Riggle, we know him best from...
Spoiler alert: they found Atlantis.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
What do you know Rob Riggle from?
I don't remember. Something.
The Office.
Then The Hangover.
Well, I was gonna say we know him
I never
most.
saw.
We mostly know him from
The Office. The Office.
Yeah, Booze Cruise.
Oh, Booze. He was the
He was the captain. So if you are a fan of The Office like we are, Booze Cruise season 2, where Michael takes the entire office on a booze cruise along Lake Winneponka or something like that. Rob Riggles was the captain of the booze cruise, and they spend the whole episode kind of fighting for control of the ship, and eventually Rob Riggle's character wins.
Yes.
And
okay, so that.
Yeah. So that's how I know him the best, but I know him from a million other things that I can't even tell you. He's a stand-up comedian. He was in the military for a long time, that sort of thing. So I just kind of know him as a funny guy, and he just seems like a really cool guy to hang out with. Like if I had to go. And, you know, like a lot of stand-ups are kind of like tortured souls, and you're like, oh, it's kind of funny to watch, but I don't really want him screaming in my face, you know, in real life. Rob Riggle is the opposite of that. He's definitely the guy that you feel like, oh, I would actually I would travel with this dude. He seems really easygoing. We would travel with this dude. But you know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
Okay, so...
I'm slightly concerned.
So it's very, like, the typography is very Indiana Jones, and it kind of has that, like, if Indiana Jones had a younger brother who maybe wasn't quite as smooth, but wanted to solve mysteries, so the whole idea is they're going to solve sort of unanswered mysteries. And if you're like us, you've probably seen a million documentaries on stuff like this. But the new spin is that he doesn't pretend to be smarter than anyone else. He kind of lets the experts talk, and he lets them temper his opinion. So he's like, I found Atlantis. And then the experts are like, well... Maybe. And so I appreciated that. They
did find steps.
Yeah, they actually found something that I thought was really interesting. So they're not, unlike a lot of documentaries, especially on the Learning Channel and Discovery Channel, are like so hardcore, like we've discovered something new, and you're like, I don't know about that. This is kind of the reverse, where they go, we're not so sure, and the viewer goes, I don't know, that's pretty compelling. So we start off in Greece at a museum. We didn't take notes originally, so I kind of went back and took notes.
I don't take notes ever.
You never take notes. It's all just in your wonderful brain.
Kind of fell out already. So
they go to the Lost Atlantis Museum. They focus on a couple things, that this Atlantis was a port city, that it was a ringed city, and elephants, which I've seen stuff on the Atlantis before.
But it even had a diorama.
Whatever. So then they go to Crete, and they go, I can't even read my notes, and I certainly can't pronounce them.
Elephants and porcupines.
No. Well, that's port cities. Orestes? Anyway, they go in these caves which I was like, I would not do. And you're like, oh, that seems like fun. But then they showed the diagram of the cave, and we were like, no, this is how people die.
You gotta go sometime.
So, and there's elephant bones in the cave. So one of the things they talk about a lot are calderas. This is actually my specialty when I was an undergrad.
Here we go.
In geology. One of my areas, in undergrad you don't really specialize, but you start to get fields that you're more interested in. And I was interested in volcanology, igneous petrology, which is related, and geochemistry, which is also geochemistry of igneous petrology. And so when you have a big mountain like that and you have a big magma pool, when the magma or any of that evacuates, it tends to be that middle kind of collapses in, and then you get that big crater. So what that means is, because when they were first talking about seismically active, I was like, yeah, but faults move centimeters a year. It wouldn't, how would it get hundreds of meters down in a, within a few thousand years? That's not really, I didn't quite understand what they meant until they started talking about volcanic activity. And then I'm like, oh yeah, you could get, like, if you ever seen the videos, which we can actually see of Mount St. Helen, you see how this large mass of the earth shifted, probably from a seismic event, and then it blew out, and then the whole thing kind of collapsed. It's kind of like that, except it sounds like it was, I don't really know about this particular volcano. I didn't do research.
Well, what one person...
Thousands of times bigger.
One expert said, yeah, well, then an atomic bomb is what they said.
40 times.
But they said it went 20 miles straight up the lava chute and then came crashing back down.
Yeah, so realistically they're not even going to find anything, but we see elephants in this cave, and I was like, oh my gosh, I thought it was really funny.
Bones. Bones of elephants.
Oh yeah, there were like live elephants swimming around. Sorry, an elephant leg bone and a molar, and I like when the guy's like, that's the molar, you can see how big the elephant was, and Rob Riggle is like, you don't need to convince me that elephants are big, like I know that. And I kind of love that little ad lib, and I'm like, maybe comedians should do all of her science shows at this point. So they go to another site where there's a fresco that looks like the fresco could be of the Ring City, and then they kind of go out there to go look. Fresco. Oh, sorry. So they go diving again. I appreciated this time they used a lady scientist. I didn't, and I'm calling her that because I don't remember what she
Pretty sure she was an actress, because, women can't be scientists.
Oh, gosh, John. You drive me nuts. No, but I did appreciate that they got some females, because a lot of times in these specials, they disproportionately use men, because they feel that they're bigger experts, all that. So they had her, and they go diving, and she's like, we're looking for anything that appears to be man-made. Now, the catch is, it could also end up there underwater.
So the first thing, he's like, oh, those look like steps. And then he's like, oh, this is something, that looks like something, and here looks like part of a pottery. And she's like, don't touch anything.
Yeah, stop, don't touch anything, because she said the pottery could be there, but it also could, like, fall off a boat, because they're out in the ocean, ships have been moving through this area for generations, thousands of years and stuff. But yeah, he does say steps, and she says what I said, a geologist, which is, it's not uncommon for us to see these, like the Giant's Causeway, where you see these they look man-made cracks. But then they like showed a few where I was like, okay, I can see what they're saying. But I appreciated that the scientists were like, hold on, he's like, we found it, and she's like, okay, just slow your roll. And I appreciated that, because that's more realistic. But it also was more entertaining, because when you watch a documentary and they're like, oh, this is definitely it, you're like, okay.
But then they scanned it with something.
Well, then they went back, and then they talked to a volcanologist, a marine geologist, who's also a lady, thank you, who said all the kind of stuff I was saying to him about from what I know from geology. I'm not, I've never been
She likes to think she's an expert.
A practicing geologist. I don't know how you say that. But there were things that even me, as someone who went to school 20 years ago, was saying. So I appreciated hearing someone else have the same sort of dubious things. But I will say they went back. Do you want to say it?
And scanned.
And I'll tell you, when they see the scans, it really looked like a port set of stairs. Like what you would do to get down to a port if you had carts and stuff. And they were like, okay, well, we're not saying it is. We're just saying this is something we're going to continue to study.
Yeah, she's like, this part not, but this part really looks man-made.
Yeah. And so we're going to look into it more, which is a much fairer place of ending it. And I feel like I read a lot of news, and I feel like every 2 years we get they've discovered Atlantis sort of thing. If it was blown up by an earthquake, I mean by a volcano, there wouldn't be a lot left. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's not going to be
It's
like...
almost like it's hot and, melts stuff.
Melts stuff, explodes it in a million directions.
Crushes it and buries it.
All that. Grinds it down to fine dust. So anyway, so our evaluation of Rob Riggle, Glover Investigator is...
He found Atlantis.
No.
Way to go.
Good job. First episode, too.
Right?
Is that
where do you go from there?
If you like your edutainment, was that what they call it? Educatement? Edutainment. If you like your education with a lot of entertainment, I would say it's a good show to watch.
And if you like made up words, watch our channel.
I would say family friendly. There was one joke about where he's like, oh, an orgy happened here. That's pretty cool. And that's probably the raciest thing he said. So depending on your family's communication skills or whatever, it probably is going to be okay. I would say it's probably in line with Top Gear in terms of family friendly.
Yeah, mostly.
And I would say if we like it, it's probably going to be commercially successful, because in general we like commercially successful stuff.
And I'm always right.
Okay.
And you're paid actor.
And John finally has a TV show he's allowed. He's happy to watch. Thanks, guys.